Hey, Natasha here. In this video, we are going to discuss how our words reflect and impact the state of our business. Now, this is often what we end up seeing as results. And it sounds kind of crazy, but as we talk about ourselves as a business owner or as how we describe our business to others can literally be what makes or breaks our practice or our business. So if you don't want something, why are you talking about it? So we're going to dive in. But first, please like, comment, subscribe. And I invite you to check out my Fear Chronicles podcast, which is all things mindset and perspective shifts that you are looking for, and strategies too, of course. So when I had my private practice, I had the habit of saying a lot of things that I actually did not want to happen. So hindsight being 2020, I said mostly negative things about myself as a business owner, about my business at the time, my first business, and not because I, wanted them to happen, but because I spoke about it so much. Essentially what I saw. So a lot of times we have to look at it from another lens because most of the time when people are talking about confirmation bias, they are talking about it in a negative lens, in a negative sense. Now, that's what we're going to talk about in this episode, but I want to just shed light on the fact that you can have confirmation bias in a positive way. And that is kind of what we're going to do in this episode, is to kind of make that shift, because essentially what you say is what you're going to see. What I want you to take away from this video here is I want you to affirm what you want to see, because we do have a tendency to go negative, then we think negative, and then we say things in a negative sense or tone or negative lens. Then we start seeing and doing and all these things, and then that's where the confirmation bias comes in. So I digress. Now, I want you to ask yourself some questions, and these questions are reflective in nature. So I really want you to think back and ask yourself, when was the last time I spoke poorly about my business or myself as a business owner? And then flip that, and I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time I spoke positively about my business or myself as a business owner? And if you feel like you couldn't think of a positive one, but a negative one came really, really fast, I want you to then think, how can I shift how I talk about my business to reflect more of the vision, like a positive vision, a positive way to view myself and my business? How can I shift that? What words can I use? What phrases can I say that I believe? Because on some level, I mean, you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't believe it, right? So we're going to dive in here. I have my stick figure here. I tried to draw in a thought bubble and it just looked horrendous. So we're not going to do that. But I have a little talking bubble. So, because this is more about, I figured we could get away with the thought bubble because this is more about what we say. But I mean, thoughts are included in this, but this is about what we're saying. And we want to affirm things that we want to see and less of what we don't. So by doing that, we have to change kind of what we're thinking and what we're saying, mostly about what we're saying, because what happens is, life is going to life, and things are going to be sometimes very evident to our eyeballs of what's happening around us. So I'm going to go through like either some common thought processes or some scenarios that a lot of practice owners like myself found ourselves in, and how we can flip. And we're not bypassing this, I do want to say that, but we're focusing on the positive elements, because again, we want to affirm what we want to see. It's not focusing on the negatives, which will be kind of like what's in green, which I will read because I don't know how well you can see that. I'm going through markers right now. A lot of the dark ones are terrible, and so I can't use them. Sorry. So The first is imposter syndrome. I only wrote imposter, but it's imposter syndrome. We have all been there at any given point in our lives, in our careers. Most of the time, this is very prevalent when we are starting something new. But it doesn't mean even after, say, months or years of doing something that we don't maybe have that repeated thought pattern or something that's just like, I don't know everything about everything. And who am I to do this? And like all of these thoughts that come up. Or if we are not as successful, I'm using air quotes because that is very subjective and it's different for everyone how we view success. But if we feel like we're not being super successful, we start to kind of have these thoughts and they're pretty negative. And so we may say things that are pretty negative, but what could we say? Something that we want to, affirm that's positive that is happening, even though we are seeing what we may believe to be not that. So we're feeling like we're lacking experience, or we're feeling like we are not an expert, or, clinically at a level that if we're comparing, that comparisonitis, comparing to, say, another colleague or someone that you know, what's something else that we could say? And there's so many other things that you can say, because what is true? You can say things to yourself out loud. These can also be thoughts. I don't want to get too in the weeds about it, but other things is like, I am knowledgeable, right? I am knowledgeable. I am intelligent. I am successful, right? Because what is your definition of success? What does success look like to you? I am successful. And another one, if you are super early on in, say, your private practice journey, or say if you decided on a new niche or something like that, you're learning. I'm learning right now, and I'm getting better and better every day. And I am continuously learning, and I'm learning gracefully. Or you can say I'm giving myself grace as I am learning through this private practice journey or through this entrepreneurial journey or whatever. You're not bypassing how you're feeling. You are feeling this level of imposter syndrome, but what else is going on here that you can shift your attention to and affirm for yourself in a more positive light? You are learning. You are intelligent. I mean, you wouldn't be here if you weren't. You wouldn't have gotten your degrees and doing all the things and then gone out on your own and bet on yourself and all of these things that are happening. But you're so fixated on this imposter syndrome that you are feeling. You shift that language and affirm what you do want to see, because that is what indeed is also happening. There can be two truths in the same scenario. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. So those are things we can say to ourselves. We're no longer doing imposter syndrome. The second one is your private practice stays in the red. Say you are still not breaking even between your overhead, your expenses, and that is blatantly in like neon lights. That is what you are seeing. So you might be saying a variation of different things that are in a negative light, like, I'm not making enough money, or I'm not going to be able to cover payroll, or whatever the case may be, or that, oh my God, I need to cut expenses because the revenue's just not there. So this is kind of like the spiral and the mindset that we're in. And so we're saying maybe a plethora of not so great things. What else is happening? You're still operational, yeah? Okay, so what are some other things that we could say, even though we are seeing that we're in the red? Our business is in the red. So you could say, what is happening right now? I'm impacting lives. I am providing an exceptional service and I am impacting lives. I am making a difference and my services are excellent and my clients love me. And, I feel super rewarded in all the work that I do. Now, ask yourself, are these things that you would say and feel good about, are these true for you? It doesn't have to be word for word, but I sure hope that being in this line of work and having a private practice, you feel this on some level, right? Because you wouldn't be going off and doing your own thing and betting on yourself if you did it. So on some level, you find this rewarding. Maybe you are still learning how to market, learning how to get referral partners and do the things, and you're learning gracefully. And I don't know that a lot of people are out of the red, even not right away, but also like there's, business ebbs and flows. There's different seasons of business as well. So you also have to give yourself grace with that and know that you aren't the only one that's in that situation. But what else is happening? Instead of affirming all of these things about what you're seeing and what's not there, what is happening? You have a business, you have a practice, you're seeing clients, and that is really fulfilling to you. And these are all the things, and your clients love you. And you know what? And they're telling their friends and they're telling their friends and they're referring people. Like you have to think about that. And those are the things that you should be talking about and saying to yourself. So even though you see that you're not out of the red yet, there's so much other awesomeness, all this other good that is in that same scenario, right? Shift your focus. What is actually happening? And affirm what you want to see. So the next is probably, I would say at least, I know solid majority, but could be 95 plus percent. You're working 40 plus hours a week. So when we are overextending ourselves and we are burning the candle at both ends, it is not hard for something not so positive to come out of our mouths, and mostly related to our business or whatever is giving us the key amount of stressors, especially at that time. And maybe you're getting poor sleep, and maybe you're not eating super great or at all. And so, and all these things can transpire, and we're saying a lot of stuff, and we're talking poorly about our business, and we're talking poorly about ourselves, and I get this right, and all this stuff. What else can be true in this situation that we can be saying? Now, this is another great opportunity, all of them are, to give yourself grace, right? Because if entrepreneurship is anything, it is a journey of self-discovery. You learn so much about yourself during this process because it's ongoing. I mean, you're never not learning, and things change, and you have to change. You got to learn the changes and change with it, and you learn flexibility, and you learn all of these things. So, what else can be said? You're super tired, and all the things, right? The very simplest one, and I think the one that I think resonates the most with me, is you say, "I'm enough. I'm enough. I make a difference, and I am enough, and I am able to do this without overworking and overextending myself." So it's really, you want to affirm to yourself that you don't have to work like that. It doesn't have to be that way. In fact, when you are working that much more at your detriment, that isn't going to serve you at all. And you're just going to perpetuate this nasty cycle. And then what if, your health gives out? Or what if something happens, on site at your practice or whatever, because you weren't resting? So you affirm to yourself that you are enough. I can do this. I don't have to work 40 plus hours a week to feel like I am, doing my best work. Because in fact, I'm likely not. So that you are enough and that you can protect your work boundaries. So likely what has happened is either you had not established or you are not honoring and following your own work time boundaries that you set for yourself. So honor it, affirm it, and know that you are enough. And the work is always going to be there. Whether you work 30 hours or 55 plus hours, the work is always going to be there. The work is not going anywhere, right? So give yourself grace and know that you are enough. You don't have to dig yourself into the ground to do that or work yourself into the ground. This one's, I think, I'll say it at some point in time in different contexts, but it is so hard. And that could be anything. That can be the commute time was so hard too. Oh my gosh, insurance billing is so hard. Credentialing is so hard. Or scheduling between all my clinicians is so hard. oh, doing accounts payable is so hard. Could be anything, right? Everything can be so hard. So instead, what is something else that we can say that is true about the situation in a different light? So there's one that I think I know the first time I heard this, I was like, yeah, okay. But it is very true because, again, this is all about your perception and what you think. But another thing that you could say instead of it being so, whatever it is, or if it's everything is so hard, is that it gets to be easy. It gets to be easy for me. And I deserve a work life balance. It doesn't have to be hard. It gets to be easy. It gets to be balanced. It gets to be what I want it to be. And I want it to be blank, whatever that is for you, because you're going to affirm what you want to see. You're not affirming that it is so hard because you're going to see more of hard everywhere. And you don't want that. So stop talking about it. Stop saying that and say what you want to see. It gets to be easy. I deserve a balanced work life. I deserve breaks. I deserve rest. And you know what? Give that to yourself. This is your permission slip again for yourself to give that to yourself. And, like I said before, the work is always going to be there. So you might as well be rested. Because I guarantee you'll be able to do more in less time when you're rested. Okay? Now, even when it comes to, there's different seasons, right? There's seasons of life and there's also different seasons of business, which I alluded to. And when you're in a scaling expansive season in your business, keeping in mind too that, more time, more work time, more time dedicated to it does not always equate to more money. So I think too, again, that's kind of like that perception that more time equals more money. And that is not necessarily true. Because again, you affirm that you can have a balanced work life. You can have a balanced work life and make more money. You can work less and make more money. Who says you have to work 55 hours plus a week in order to exponentially grow your business? Maybe you said that, and maybe that's why it's looking like that to you. Affirm what you want to see. The work will always, always be there, but you can find a flow to get more work done in less time, therefore working less and making more. So affirm what you want to see and stop saying things that you don't want to see, because that is that confirmation bias. How about you get confirmation bias to work in your favor by affirming what you want to see? Again, it's not bypassing what's actually happening, but you're shifting your focus and attention on what else is happening, the positives, and focus on that and what you want. That is key. So thank you for being here. Again, like, comment, subscribe, all the things. I invite you to take my 2-minute Are You the Bottleneck quiz to find out who or what is slowing down your progress. And I will see you in my next video.